Hello there, thank you, welcome back, and thank you for joining me with my readings of The Projection of the Astral Body with Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward, Carrington. We are continuing with chapter 7, page 138. Investigation into the matter seems to indicate that there is a conflict of opinion among authorities as to where the point of contact is which the astral line of force makes with the bodies. We know, at least we should know, that there are so many different conditions involved, so many differing individual makeups, such various and intermingled degrees of matter, that naturally some experimenters arrive at conclusions which are at variance with those of others. One authority holds that the astral cord adheres to the physical body at the solar plexus, situated just behind the stomach. Another maintains that the spot is low down on the forehead, between the eyes, and still others, and they seem in the majority, maintain the belief that the point of contact is at the medulla oblongata. I believe that the latter is true, and that the evidence for this outweighs all evidence to the contrary. If all these claims be vindicated, then the controversy lies only in the opinions of their originators. The truth is that the cable can extend from any of the several vital centres of the body. One well-known authority on the subject, who ranks second to none, and whose word carries much weight, is the staunch adherent to the belief that the astral cord finds its point of contact at the solar plexus, i.e. of the physical body. But where does it join the astral body, if this to be true? Does it centre at the solar plexus of the projected body too? Surely if it does so, the conscious astral projector must find himself in a clumsy condition when within cord activity range. This is what my experience has revealed. I have never found the cable making contact with the physical body at the solar plexus, but I have observed it to do so at the front, side and back of the head. But with me the astral end has invariably adhered to the medulla oblongata region of the phantom. I make this suggestion, however, that the experimenters who hold to the solar plexus point of contact use suggestion to that effect while developing. Be that as it may, the reason why the astral cable fastens at different spots of the physical head is because of the position of the physical body at the time of projection. The astral and physical bodies coincide, in whatever way the physical body lies, so will the astral lie. If the physical be facing upward while lying in the horizontal position, the astral will emerge facing upward also. The astral cable will thus come out of the physical at the front of the head, between the eyes, and fasten onto the phantom at the back of the head, the medulla oblongata region. Might add that this is the ideal position for projection. On the other hand, if the physical be facing downward while lying in the horizontal position, the astral body will emerge facing down. The astral cable will thus circle from the medulla oblongata of the physical directly over the top of the head to the medulla oblongata of the phantom. If one be conscious when a projection from this position occurs, he will feel the astral cord circling over his head in the astral, and it will feel like a piece of soft hose in which there are regular pulsations. I had the following experience several years ago, which illustrates this point. Turning over in the air, page 139. The perception I had in this experience was that my head was drawn downward until my chin rested upon my chest, and that something was thumping me on the top and the back of my head. An instant later I was awake in the astral and found that my head was drawn downwards and my chin was resting upon my chest. The thumping in my head was due to the pulsations in the astral cable. In this condition I was lying in the air just under the ceiling of the room. I could not move voluntarily and seemed to be smothering. I was lying upon my chest physically and was likewise facing downward in my astral body. Thus it was that the astral line of force pulled my head downward, and I could feel it resting upon my head from that point, then down over the top of my head, as plainly as if it had been a piece of garden hose, fastened to the back of my astral head, and pulled over the top, forcing my head onto my chest, and pulsating all this time. This experience proved conclusively to me that the astral cable is always attached at the medulla oblongata region of the astral body, for there never would have been a better time for it to have been attached elsewhere, yet it made contact at this point, which on this occasion was not an ideal arrangement. For several moments I stayed in this position when I noticed that I was beginning to turn over onto my side. I thought that my head would be twisted from my body. The turnover movement continued until I eventually found myself lying upon my back in the air. This once accomplished, the controlling power began to move me outward and downward into a standing position. Just why the ruling intelligence found it necessary for me to turn over in the air, because completing the projection, I do not know. On interiorization, the same process took place in the reverse order. I was pulled first from the upright into the horizontal position, i.e. to a point directly above my physical body. This movement took place while I lay face upward in the air. I was then turned over and slowly dropped face downward into the physical mechanism, which lay face down upon the bed. If this experience could be considered typical, it would appear that the lying upon one's back is the ideal position for projection. The Four Brains of Man, page 140. Of course, where the astral cable appears to make contact with the head and where it actually ends are two different questions. The cable might appear to the projector to be centered at the medulla oblongata, the front or the side of the physical head, depending upon which side faced upward at the time, and still it would only be apparent, and the cable might actually end inside the head at the pineal gland, for aught we know. Please excuse me one moment, my door is knocking. Hopefully I'll be able to come back. Okay, sorry about that. There are four large nervous or psychic centres in the body, four brains of man. They are sometimes called the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the medulla oblongata, and the solar plexus. Besides these, there are the pituitary body and the pineal gland. Because projection of the astral body depends in some degree upon concentration, centred upon one or more of those centres. We must discuss them briefly. The cerebrum, divided into two hemispheres, is the frontal portion of the brain, within the cranium. The cerebellum lies behind and below the cerebrum. The two are connected by a short stalk, known as the midbrain. The solar plexus, abdominal brain, is in the abdomen, just behind the stomach. It is completely composed of material similar to that composing of the other two brains. The medulla oblongata is a bulbous continuation of the upper end of the spinal cord, extending into the skull and lying below the cerebellum. It is a peculiar arrangement of divisions, strands of the ganglia connected with the two neighbouring vital centres. It is well known that within the medulla oblongata are located certain nerves which have control over the functions of respiration. I leave it up to the reader's judgment whether this would not be an ideal spot for the astral line of force to connect with and thus deliver the force of respiration. The pineal gland, situated within the brain, is a peculiar organ, the pineal gland, which until recent years was a source of mystery, although the Orientals have long held that the gland had significance in relation to the occult. The pineal gland, aside from its physiological importance, is now recognized by many Western students of psychics, as well as by the Oriental, as being a connecting link between the physical and spiritual worlds. Swami Bhaktra Vishita states, the pineal gland is a mass of nervous substance which is found located in the brain, in a position near the centre of the skull, almost directly above the extreme top of the spinal column. It is shaped like a small cone, and is of a reddish-grey colour. It lies in front of the cerebellum and is attached to the third ventricle of the brain. It contains a small quantity of gritty particles, a sand-like substance which is commonly known as brain sand. It derives its scientific name from its shape, which resembles a pine cone. The Oriental occultists claim that the pineal gland, which its peculiar arrangement of nerve cell corpuscles, and its tiny grains of brain sand is intimately associated with certain forms of transmission and reception of waves of mental vibration. Western students have been struck with the remarkable resemblance between the pineal gland and a certain part of the receiving apparatus employed in wireless telegraphy, the latter also containing small particles which bear a close resemblance to brain sand of the pineal gland. The pituitary body. The pituitary body, situated in front of and below the pineal gland, is another organ regarded as having an occult significance. There is a connecting link between the two bodies, the pineal gland and the pituitary body, over which it is claimed a subtle force operates. Dr. W. H. Downer says on this subject, molecular motions in the pineal gland cause spiritual clairvoyance, but to make this clairvoyance illumine the field But to make this clairvoyance illumine in the field of the universe, the fires of the pituitary body must unite with the fires of the pineal gland, and this union means that the sixth and seventh senses have become as one, or in other words, that the individual consciousness is so drawn that the magnetic sphere of the highest mentality and the highest spiritual sense is conjoined. Sorry, I'm trying to process the information at the same time I'm reading it, so please forgive me. Considering the important functions of any or all of these vital centers, one would be perfectly safe in asserting that the astral cable is projected and that the energy would be properly distributed, for after all the nervous system is in tune, one part with another, throughout the entire physical mechanism. Some authorities have found that the concentration upon the pineal gland, properly concentrated thought, of course, will facilitate the projection of the astral body, and there is little doubt that a line of force will be created at the spot upon which the subject concentrates. The force is not created by the physical nervous centre. The physical nervous centre is operated upon by force. The cosmic energy, page 142. None of the vital bodies mentioned in the foregoing can create the force which operates through them. There are but in distributors, rectifiers, transformers, the complicated mechanical arrangements that the energy of life works through and upon. Because the physical body can be destroyed, that in no sense destroys the force behind the body, any more than breaking an electric bulb would destroy the energy operating through it. It is interesting to know that there have been people who have had portions of their brains taken out without apparent ill effects. Geely, in his work From the Unconscious to the Conscious, cites the surgical operation have been performed upon soldiers in France during the war. Physiologists do not believe that the vital energy, consciousness, sensibility, and motivity can exist apart from the physical mechanism, believing that the material body itself creates the energy. The main reason for their belief is that it cannot be proved that the physical body does not create its energy, but it cannot be proved that the physical body does not create its energy either. Therefore, there is no foundation for that belief. The physical body itself cannot even hold the energy of life, that energy being held in the astral condenser and poured through the physical during projection by means of the line of force running on a vital centre of the physical mechanism. To discuss astral phenomena, even life itself, without discussing the energy which is behind it, it would all be like building a house without a foundation, like discussing electrical appliances and ignoring the force which operates them. Perhaps it has never occurred to you that the energy you are using is cosmic, present everywhere, that it is not created by you, but it is attracted by you and condensed in your astral body, which as you have already learned, does its recharging during sleep, and therefore has an important bearing upon the astral projection. You must realize also that food and diet constitute as important factors in the phenomena of astral body separation. The ordinary belief concerning energy is that it is created by this body, that to eat so much food will produce so much energy. If this idea were true, we could easily substitute food for sleep, and the minute we felt ourselves becoming tired, weak, or enervated, simply eat more food, and thus never need sleep. If this were true, the more food we injected, the more energy we should create. But scientific investigators have found that to stuff the invalid only makes his condition worse. Food is material, like the physical body, and builds up the body because the cosmic force operates upon it, not because it produces energy itself. Okay, so we're going to finish there on page 144, and it's Dr. Lindau's views on energy. Thank you so much for joining me once again today. Again, I apologise if I've pronounced anything incorrectly, and indeed my confusion along the way. Sometimes my brain runs away with me when I'm interested in the subject. So I appreciate you joining me, and I look forward to sending over another recording shortly. Thank you very much. Goodbye.